All right. Welcome everybody to another cast of CPL. Today we'll be doing week 9 and joining me this week is Nujabase, aka Herbmon, one of the coaches for Dragon Herb.
What's up?
All right. So today let's preview the matches. Well, actually yeah, let's preview the matches first. Today we'll be looking at a lot of matches from the from my team's matches. We're going to be seeing Elmaster, Evil Eye, and F10 EQQ playing off against Pro Forward, Darknet Hunter, and N Baker. So Protoss vs Zerg, Protoss vs Terran, and Protoss vs Zerg. So there's gonna be stuff for both of us to talk about here, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually excited because I looked at the lineup too, and pretty much am familiar with all the players, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about running a longitudinal league of this nature, where there's teams that stay consistent. And, a lot of the same faces show up over and over and over again. You get to see the progress people make. You get familiar with their little quirks, like the 100 APM Evil Eye and the 300 APM L Master. So you get the wide range of players here. Definitely excited for the games today. So let's get right into it. While I'm setting up the game, it's gonna
Quick
be
question: East or West?
1.16.
Ooh. All right, hold on.
Okay, yeah, I seek up. Sorry about that.
In the IC Cup room. Yeah, that's actually all right. Cool.
Yeah, it's because well, I use Twitch. Sorry, I use MCA to stream at least these games because the
Uh,
league started in 1.16. Because this league has been technically going on since about, I don't know, I would say September of last year. So
yeah.
we've been sticking with 1.16 for this. I did figure out how to stream on 1.18, so that eliminates a lot of the barriers that I had for doing some of the matches that I couldn't do before. So that's going to be done this week because finished up my half a semester at grad school, half of a summer semester at grad school, and they gave me 2 days vacation. So generous bastards, I'm going to be able to do a lot this weekend. So um, well, enough about me. I'm gonna host the game named CPL, password CPL, and while I'm doing that, feel free to introduce yourself a little bit to the adoring fans, or not. You still with me? Urban.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What's up?
Okay. Yeah. Hold on. I need to launch MCA 64 launcher as administrator to be able to use Discord.
True,
So
true.
sorry about that.
No, it's okay. No problem.
But anyways, like I was saying, hello everyone. My name is Urban. I stream quite frequently, and I've been a part of a couple projects. The IC Cup Nation League, uh, random tournaments here and there, and just
Ugh.
yeah, I'm
Uh,
just that guy.
All right. Well, right off the bat, L Master once again played on 1.18, even though the rules say they have to play on 1.16. So, unfortunately, we'll not be casting those games today. I'm gonna have to push those back to the other broadcast I'm gonna do in this coming week, where I catch up on all the 1.18 games that L Master played by himself, because he's the only one that does this. I'm gonna do an L Master only cast. I might even just not broadcast it, like record it, local record it and just send it to Lmaster through email. I think that might be easier. But so unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to do the first 2 games against Pro Forward this week. Let me reflect that in the image, that's the one. Every time you have something that involves multiple parts, you always forget to set up one thing, especially if you just had to restart your computer. So I forgot that I'm a scrub and I edit my pictures through Paint. And okay, so I'm gonna do that now. So like 1 minute intermission. Please continue with an introduction. I'm sorry if I cut you off.
Yeah, no. Did you hear me when I was talking?
Yeah, I did.
All right, cool. Everything's good. Yeah, Microsoft Paint has been the greatest asset and tool to my graphic design repertoire. Let me just throw you up on Twitch so I can see the chat as well, so I can.
Yeah, that would be great because my Twitch chat broke through MCA for some reason. So that would be if you could do that, that'd be awesome.
Wunderbar.
Yeah.
Man, it sounds like everything is just like coming together, just so perfect.
Yep.
All right, so what do?
Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. So Elmaster, thanks. Once I mean, I guess it is my fault. I should have recognized that they're 1.18 reps, but he might have renamed them or something. I don't know. Either way, those will be cast next time. So today we only have 4 games to cast, so it's gonna be a quick one. Give Elmaster plenty of time to start his broadcast up, which is coming up at 5 o'clock, in aka 1 hour 45, 2 hours and 45 minutes from now for all you guys who are interested in seeing more CPL after this is over. In the meantime, though, I'm going to throw up Evil Eye versus Darknet Hunter Game 1. Nope, not IC Cup map pack. Nope. The mechanic, the like looking for fighting spirit, really quickly, has rewired my whole mindset, I guess. Are you still with me? We lost him. Ninja base.
Oh my god, this is good. Yeah, I don't know why the StarCraft thing's not working for me.
What, Twitch
Uh,
chat or?
oh no 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 no! It's like for some reason Discord. Like I ran MCA64 as administrator, but it's still not letting me talk.
It's
Maybe it's
it's
let
Discord
me
that has to
just.
be administrator. I'm pretty sure.
Oh that okay, hold on.
All right, see you in a minute. All right, guys. So while we are handling this, let me see what the chat is saying in the meantime, because my shit doesn't broke. What games are you casting? Slut. Okay, Kramanch, you can see which games I'm going to be casting. They're actually right up there, I believe. You should be able to see them. There's 2 of them that are crossed out because they're 1.18, and there's 4 of them that are up. I don't
Back.
know. What's up? Oh, that was quick. So let's try it again. Let's see if it works out. The game's already up. It's CPL password CPL.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. How about now?
Yes, sir.
How about now?
Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. All right. Game name CPL, password CPL on 1.16, and I see you.
Sounds good.
All right.
Woo! Circuit breaker.
Yes, game one's gonna be on Circuit Breaker. In fact, the game one for all of these matches is gonna be on Circuit Breaker because that was the map of the week. Let's get right into it. So Evil Eye and DNH, I was actually really looking forward to this match because they're 2 of the stronger players I think in the league. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens here. In the top right, we have the Teal Protoss, Evil Eye.
It's spawning on the bottom left-hand corner of Circuit Breaker. Representing that all that is brown, we have DNH.
Excuse me. All right, yeah. So, yeah, the lag seems okay. It looks like they were working on some stuff just the same way that we were. So, getting right into it, I've been hearing that Circuit Breaker is beneficial for Protoss in the cross map position, as opposed to the horizontal and vertical positions for Terran. Well, especially the horizontal because of the low ground third. I mean fourth actually that they can take the third gas while they push the Protoss. So I would say that right off the jump, DNH is in a little bit of a pickle here. Um, not in the sense that he's gonna lose because of this, but it's gonna be harder for him to punish whatever Evil Eye does in this game.
Yeah, my understanding, and I mean, I'm a Zerg player, so I don't really have too much leverage with this being said, but I mean, I guess I could use it in like the same aspect and for all matchups, but like, it's not so much of like I don't know how to put it. So in PvT, Protoss is more like they're easy. They can bend a little bit more depending on the map, like as opposed to like ZVT. Terrans can adapt to maps a lot easier than Zergs because for Terrans versus Protoss, they have to really take into consideration choke points because of the siege tank line, where to mine, how to defend against drops, and like the same concept goes with like ZVT, to where Zergs have to know where like placements for lurkers and like how to utilize the map to the fullest advantage, because in TVZ you just make Marines and medics and steamroll through, and that for PvT you basically make Arbiters, Zealots, Dragoons, and steamroll through. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things, and yeah, definitely this map has a lot of different openings and stuff, and that's what I feel like causes a little bit of chaos for the Terran player. But at the same time, I mean, just with a good understanding of the map and everything, they can definitely utilize it to their advantage. But there are going to be key opportunities for the opponent, the Protoss player, to be able to, do some shenanigans.
Yeah, to my understanding, one of the major issues of cross-map positions in TVP is the fact that there's this big, wide diagonal expanse that you would hypothetically eventually have to push across, which is pretty much the bane of all Terran pushes when you have to push across an area that is that big. You know, it's an absolutely enormous, featureless area in the middle of the map, and with not a lot of buildable terrain there as well. The openings on either side of the base, you know, the fact that there's pretty much 3 entrances to the natural, I feel like Terrans can definitely take advantage of that because speed vultures are just so fast and so quick, especially
Yeah.
in the early mid game when Protoss is might be forced on the defensive to use their dragoons a lot. But in the meantime, it looks like, let's talk about the builds a little bit. We see that Evil Eye is going for his 2-gate build. It's a very interesting build. He builds 2 gateways with range, but I think he goes for Nexus before he makes any dragoons whatsoever. And meanwhile, we see that DNH is going for a relatively standard factory build. Still has 3 on gas though, so depending on how much gas he builds up, we're gonna determine what he's gonna try to do out of this.
Yeah, I feel like DNH might be going for a like 2 siege tank, marine, vulture, spider mine push, and with Evil Eye doing the double gate to expand. I mean, I'm not too up to date with the current meta of TVP or PVT, but from my experience watching, just a lot of players like Koget and stuff like that, I've seen them go for a lot of aggression to deny the expansion of the Protoss. So, I mean, the double gate, I feel like is just like, all right, he is going to be doing some aggression. I can pump out Dragoons ASAP, as opposed to just like praying to God you can just micromanage a Dragoon and kill off how many units before they get to your base.
And it actually looks like DNH is not going to go for the strong FD as you predicted. He's making a vulture and he's going to be moving out with what he has here. He does have a decent amount of marines though. He has 6 in total. And strangely enough, I mean, DNH is still staying on that gas, so if he throws down his command center, I would have to guess that it could be a starport follow-up, because this is the only reason I would see for him to have so much gas. Maybe it's just a little bit of a mistake on his part.
So actually kind of interesting. DNH is German, right?
No, I think he's American actually. Why do you
is
ask?
he? Okay. Because I just casted a tournament card cup made by Jucado, and he's doing basically the identical build to what Cryok does.
Yeah?
But Cryok is more aggressive. It seems like DNH is being more passive with the build.
Yeah, I've played Cryok before, and he does do this build up, but DNH is definitely playing passive. I think that he knows that there's almost no chance for him to be able to push across this large of a map and do any real damage to the expansion. The only thing that I'm really still concerned about is the fact that he didn't pull any SCVs off gas. He could have started his command center earlier if he did that. But
Yeah.
it delayed his command center, and he's really not going to use that gas for quite some time. So I think that that's something that DNH could work on, is pulling the SCVs off gas to accommodate for his build. And,
Yeah, definitely.
and Evil Eye is doing what you kind of almost predicted. He's using this opening here, but he's going to... Oh, the mine gets sniped. And if he gets both of these tanks, this is going to be enormous. Oh, he's not focus firing though, and the vulture is going to be able to lay this mine. I wonder if there's going to be a nice focus fire here.
Yep, mine does get shot out.
So he doesn't pick off the siege tank when he had the opportunity to, but he is going to get both siege tanks now. Now DNH is in a hell of a lot of trouble. He did get siege mode up in time. He has 1 siege tank back in the main base, but he's already lost a lot. I mean, if I'm Protoss and I killed 2 of the first 2 tanks, my immediate reaction is just to expand, honestly, because it's not like Terran's going to be able to push out and do anything anytime soon. DNH using the SCVs to keep this barracks alive, which is nicely done. He can't afford to lose that and lose his ability to make factories, but he's going to lose a lot of SCVs in the meantime.
I mean, even though the siege tanks were killed off, it seems like DNH will be able to hold, but yet, like you said, he is going to be behind quite a bit.
Yeah, losing all those SCVs certainly didn't help, and now with these reinforcement Dragoons coming in, I don't think DNH is actually ready for this at all. He still has the siege tank on the high ground, which is good for him, but as he continues to lose these siege tanks, I'm waiting to see how Evil Eye can capitalize on this. I mean, so far, we already know that he's not the most mechanically gifted player on the planet, but I feel like he could have done something more than just bank up 600 minerals in this interim period. Oh, he did just throw down the Nexus, so
Yeah,
that
he
is.
did that. What?
Yeah, I was gonna say like that is the good move, but I think he probably could have done it about a minute earlier. Like when he picked off the first two tanks, his third Nexus could have been up already. That's one of the ways that you kind of capitalize on the advantage that you gained, because as it
Mhm.
stands, he got an advantage. He could have had more of an advantage.
Of course. So one thing that I was talking about earlier, though, with the whole understanding the map and everything, DNH had a really good idea with putting a mine and stuff at the ramp, but it seemed like he completely forgot about the other ramp that goes around, because that's what allowed Evil Eye to be able to do that pincer method and pretty much kill off and do a significant amount of damage to the economy of DNH. So maybe if DNH would have thrown like a spider mine up there and then pulled his units back behind the barracks, he would have probably been in a better position. But he did get caught kind of out of place, and that's one of those things that happen. The Terran army is not really strong until it has just, a ridiculously huge amount of siege tanks or
Absolutely.
heavily defended by mines.
Absolutely. And one thing that I want to know is that DNH behind this is going for the 5-fact push, probably predicting the fact that Evil Eye took a third base off of this. And we can see that he's actually shirking all, he's not getting any detection whatsoever. He's not getting Engineering Bay or an Academy. He's probably going to try to do as much damage as possible with this build. Try, I guess, catch Evil Eye off guard with how quick this build is coming. But the Obs does show up inside the base of DNH. It's a good play by Evil Eye. You always want to get your first observer into the main base of Terran to count the factory, see what's going on.
Oh, it seems like there's going to be a little bit of an engagement going down. DNH catching some of the Dragoons off guard. Siege tanks are going to be able to follow up, and some really good micro coming down. Mine's hitting right on the Dragoons as needed.
Yeah, very nicely done here. Pretty much all the Dragoons got pincered by the Vultures. They weren't able to run away from the siege tank fire that's hitting them from behind. And they did eat a mine in there also, which was pivotal. And now all of a sudden, DNH's 5-fac is looking quite scary. I mean, there is a shuttle out. Shuttles are very good at stopping pushes, but once the Terran parks across these double bridges, it could be hard for Evil Eye to move out. But it actually looks like, no, he's going to go to snipe the third base. The siege tanks are just out of range of the Nexus. I feel like if he could have probably taken 2 or 3 shots on that Nexus and totally wiped it out. But as it stands, these drops are going to do a lot of damage.
Ooh. Do you think it was just the fact of how his siege tanks weren't really spread out?
Well, I feel like if he had actually been down the ramp and sieged up there, he would have been able to snipe the Nexus before the drop came in. But more importantly, it's the fact that his rally wasn't going with his push. When you're going for a relatively all-in push like that, no engineering bay, no academy, no scan, you're placing all your money on this one push. You should be also rallying your factories over to where your push location is. If he had all those 8 vultures there at the time when the dropship came, I feel like he could have survived with some siege tanks left over. There was only really 4 Dragoons, 4 Zealots, and 1 shuttle. All he had to do with his 5 siege tanks is keep them alive and take out that Nexus. So DNH, I think if he committed a little bit more, he would have been better off. Now, well, Evil Eye did manage to keep his third base, and now he's adding quite a few gateways. Evil Eye, one thing I noticed about him as a player is he always opts to get very late Stargate and gets upgrades instead. It's very much more traditional, old school style Protoss, where you focus on the ground army a lot more. Nowadays we see things such as 2-base Arbiter, where you're trying to get that Arbiter tech as fast as possible. And I do feel like he has a little bit of that breathing room because of the fact he held this 5-fac push. But I mean, to be fair to him, also he did throw down all of what's called the Arbiter tech foundations just now as well.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, it looks like Evil Eye is moving up to 7 factories. I can't count. Let's see if Evil Eye should be able to see this too. He has 6 factories in vision, so he should know that he should be throwing down some extra gateways at this time as well.
Yeah, Evil Eye's got a probe chilling at the bottom right-hand corner. Seems like he's going to be trying to take that expansion. Good stuff coming out from Evil Eye as well. Moving around the map, killing off all the mines, playing that little Microsoft game Minesweeper.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it looks like DNH is going to be going around with some vultures and actually might be able to get into the natural.
Oh my God, no! He just let go of the control for just one moment. He got a little bit too
Oh,
close. The zealot saw him. Nice zealot block by Evil Eye.
yeah,
I definitely think that he made a big mistake leaving the back door open when he was clearing those mines. As soon as he saw the vultures get behind his dragoons, like kind of on his half the map, my first thought is always like, okay, I'm just gonna throw down like 5 walling pylons and wait until my next macro round comes out with dragoons.
yeah,
Like do whatever it needs to be done to make sure those vultures don't get inside my main and natural. But as another thing that Evil Eye does that a lot of, well, quote-unquote good Protoss players don't do, he did throw down the cannons in his mineral line, so even then the Vulture Harass wasn't too scary for him. I feel like he enjoys having the map presence with the Dragoon and the Obs clearing out mines, preventing DNH from sneaking any armies out on him.
yeah.
And we do see the Nexus has been thrown down at the bottom right. I like this move from Evil Eye. I feel like he had that probe there for quite a while actually. I feel like once again, as soon as he held that 5-fact push, he could have taken that 4th base. As always, whenever you get an advantage, try to secure it somehow. Try to build upon that advantage. So, look, and here we see he's adding the 5th Nexus as well, because he is so goddamn rich at this point. 64 probes, very nice production from him. DNH himself is at 52, which is a decent number considering the fact that he's been behind all this time and went for a relatively all-in push earlier. The 3rd command center is quite late, and it's not on a gas base, but it's far from over for DNH at this point.
How do you feel about Protoss expanding where the Terran is going to leapfrog to?
Yeah, I definitely, I think that's a really good point that you bring up here. I feel like it would have been better off for Evil Eye in this situation to expand horizontally. It's a lot harder for Terran to push vertically on this map than it is horizontally. But at the same time, he's also depleting the minerals that are on the Terran side. So push comes to shove, it makes it, it's going to be harder for Terran to expand vertically as well. And
Yeah, well, exactly.
if Evil Eye does manage to mine out a lot of these resources at the bottom right, before DNH even gets there, that's going to be a late game boon for him, because while DNH is going to be reclaiming mined out bases, Evil Eye is going to be having, the availability of the top left all to himself.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. There's good things and bad things about it. I can't say one thing or another. I feel like given how far ahead he is at the moment in terms of just army and the fact that he held off the all-in, I think this is a safe play.
Yeah, by the time DNH is actually able to start moving around, the bases are going to be pretty well mined out, like you were saying. So just food for thought type thing,
Absolutely. You always have to make your decisions about where do I expand with some sort of mentality behind it. You have to weigh your options. So in some cases, expanding in one place might be a good idea, and in other places, maybe not as much. In this case, I don't think that is too much of an issue for Evil Eye to be expanding here, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it in certain other scenarios. For example, if the Terran and the Protoss are dead even, and Terran is already crawling through that 6 o'clock base towards starting a map split situation, I would not expand here. You're not going to make your money back, but in this case, it seems like it's going to be working out for him.
Yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about StarCraft Brood War. It's an art. It's so situational that not every game is the same, It's like canvas painting, like, yeah, you can make it look the same, but it's very different as well.
Absolutely. And should be interesting to note is that DNH actually made the command center in his natural, so that kind of implies that he is going to be expanding vertically here, going to be trying to take that 9 o'clock base, which is an interesting choice. I mean, he does need a gas base sometime soon. 3 gas for Terran is kind of like the magic number, kind of like 4 gas for Zerg and ZVP had been for a while. Actually no, he's going to be floating all the way long distance to that 6 o'clock base from his natural. So this is kind of, kind of inefficient, but he is covering this with his push. I mean, this is a lot of...
Huge engagement going down. The Vultures were not in the greatest position, but it seems like he might be able to take this engagement.
Yeah, no, that was very handily done by him, but it was largely because of the fact that Evil Eye had his army very much split. He even has his rally point on his side of the bridges, which means that grouping it up and sending it out, it's kind of impeded by those bridges. So that's why DNH kind of got a surprise attack off on him. I was a little bit worried for him at the start because he was so unsieged. You know, he was just looked like he 1A, 2A, 3A into it. But
Yeah.
looking at it now, as long as he supports this army, he should be in a good position.
So this arb's really helping out, but some really clutch scans coming down from DNH. Stasis going down on some of the backseat tanks and vultures, reducing the damage output from DNH. But it seems like Evil Eye's going to have to retreat.
Yeah, that was very well done by DNH. I mean, I don't think that Evil Eye should have re-engaged so quickly. I mean, he had just donated about half of his army and not done very much damage to DNH, and he sends in the other half of his army. You could also tell that he was a little bit pressed for APM. He didn't cast his storms on any of the juiciest spots. He had lost the Templar before he had the chance to do so. And another thing that that Protoss should be doing, especially against the sieged up Terran in this case, is you should try to stasis the siege tanks as early as possible, because every volley that you prevent the siege tanks from shooting is, you know, potentially like 3 or 4 dragoons that are still alive to the later parts of the engagement. I like this play from DNH, also laying these mines here. Oh, that's gonna put some
Oh
juicy
my
hits,
god.
juicy hits on these zealots.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but I think DNH might have overextended a little bit. He moved in way too far, and the Protoss army catches him off balance. These mines could actually backfire on him. Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a good one. But now he
he
gets.
needs a scan.
Oh, that's a good storm. That's a good storm. This is what I'm like. This is what I like to see. This is exactly. Yes, that was beautifully done by Evil Eye. He made the most out of that little mistake by DNH. Now I think that Evil Eye could pull back, but if he has storm on both of these, this could be worth it. There's one storm, another storm. Oh no, it dies right before. Again, I feel like DNH could have, if he had rallied all his factories to where his siege tanks were sieged up, he would have done way more and been able to retain a lot more of his army. But the longer this goes on, I mean, DNH still hasn't been able to take his 6 o'clock base. If you see there's a small little army there, is it going to drag mines into these SC? Yeah.
Yeah, that denying of the 6 o'clock happened a little bit ago, but it's good to see that DNH was able to clean it up, and it seems like he might be going towards the bottom right-hand corner momentarily, or at least that's going to be his next motive for engagement. But it seems like we got a small little army coming back to the 6 o'clock, taking out all the vultures. The siege tank is the only thing that's left that's going to help out, and that falls. And all these SCVs and turrets are going to go down, and possibly this command center. So Evil Eye really doing a good job at just denying the income of the Terran player.
Absolutely. I mean, Evil Eye, if you look, he's playing everything very much right at this stage of the game. He has the 7 gateways at his bottom right main. This is exactly what you want to see, and this is exactly what allows him to continue pressuring the position of DNH at 6 o'clock. He also is taking more bases on the north side of the map as well now, recognizing that as DNH gets more ground on the bottom half, his time there is becoming more and more limited. But I also want to point out the beauty of the balance of the composition of Evil Eye right now. I mean, he has 73 probes, which is more or less an ideal number. 2 groups of both Dragoons and Zealots, which is more or less ideal. 5 Arbiters, which is a good number, and 9 Observers, which gives you a lot of map presence. So I feel like Evil Eye, in terms of pure math, he hit that ideal golden Protoss ratio for pretty much like a one-size-fits-all almost situation.
Check out the natural of DNH.
What about it? Oh, I see what you're saying. Nice. Yeah, it flies in right. There's no anti-air whatsoever anywhere, and inside the main base, no recall defense here as well. So this is gonna be a juicy recall. Yep, very deep inside the Terran base, gonna be very hard to defend. But meanwhile, DNH is also pushing towards the bottom right of Evil Eye. Oh, if he pulls back, that's a long walk for him to go back home with, I think. I almost want to say that it would have been better if he just pushed there.
Well, I mean, yeah, it'd been better if he would push, because all this units that are coming out of the infrastructure of the Terran is going to be able to deal with this accordingly.
Yeah, the recall is very Dragoon heavy, which means that the couple of siege tanks coming out are going to be able to do a lot of damage to it. Vultures pop out very quickly, can soak up a lot of the hits for siege tanks, and now if you look at it, he's going to be trying to shift his whole entire army up this one narrow ramp, and he's going to have to shift it all back. So Uh, the recall served two purposes in this case. It did kill the starport, which delays the science vessels from DNH for a long, long time, which is a good pickup by Evil Eye. Kills the command center, which is kind of important, not very important. It's depleted gas. But the most important thing is that it bought him a lot of time, and he's still continuing to mine out this bottom right two
Ooh, and
bases.
another attack coming down at the 6 o'clock.
Yeah, nice recall here. If he snipes this CC, now that's going to start becoming troublesome a little bit. Very nice. A lot. Oh, but SCVs are trying to repair. Vultures do come in to help. A lot of SCVs going down here too. Oof.
Oh, the siege tank splash is going to devastate his own SCVs.
Yeah, and he can't repair the command center while it's running away. You have to run ahead of the command center and then start repairing it backwards when that happens. And now, yeah, the damage is really piling up, and it should be noted that Evil Eye is at 3-3 right now, whereas DNH is only at 1-1. I mean, they say that Protoss armor is not really that good of an upgrade, but I feel like he's making it work somehow with these 3-3 upgrades for sure.
Well, the 3-3 helps, but also having about like 30 freaking gateways and resupplying your army faster than a Zerg is quite beneficial as well.
Yeah, he's maxed, and in each gateway at least in his main base, you see that there's 3 units already queued up, and for a lot of the gateways at the bottom right as well. So he's gonna be maxed and remaxed every single time, which
Yeah.
it's great for when you're a lower APM player to have that option available to you. But you also, I kind of don't like it because you kind of get into the tendency of producing units that you might not need. For example, let's say you have an engagement and you lose all your zealots, and then you had already pre-programmed about 24 dragoons, so suddenly you have a 48 dragoon army. Against a better Terran player, that could already mean death.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I just love the fact that you see units dying, but his supply stays at 200.
yeah, absolutely. Very nicely played here by Evil Eye. And Evil Eye he's just gonna start whittling away at the Terran at this point. I feel like you can just start
Yeah.
sending 12 units here, 12 units there, one recall there, while slowly encroaching and taking up the rest of the map. Very nicely, well done here by Evil Eye, just unrelenting on the advantage that he secured multiple times. And I feel like the defining situation in this game was the fact that DNH did opt to push through the middle of the map both times, and both the times I mean, even despite early successes in both pushes, he ended up getting wiped out in the middle of the map because there was just too much surface area for him to cover. Not enough reinforcements.
Yeah, he didn't really like make a huge standpoint at any spot. Like you were saying, like he didn't go to the double bridge and post up there. He didn't go onto the higher edge or the higher ground and post up there. Like he just pretty much allowed himself to be in the open, and the Protoss army, regardless of good engagement, was just able to overwhelm.
Yeah, but I mean, credit has to be given to Evil Eye as well. I mean, he's playing very well this game. I can't really find much fault with it. Great macro despite his low APM. I mean, there was a couple control flubs here and there, but wow, these arbiters. I think this is just BM at this point. Excuse me, sorry, this point. Oh, gets his own arbiter in there too.
Nice.
Wow, this is just too much now. Evil Eye I think this is the get out. Stasis, yeah, the GG.
Yeah, did you? Yeah, I mean, good play coming from both players. Interesting style. What really made the turn in the game was when Evil Eye was able to pincer the army of what's his
DNH.
face? Yeah, DNA. Yeah, it was pretty much downhill. Or like for DNH, it was just a constant uphill battle.
And you have to feel for DNH's position. I mean, he already started off with a massive disadvantage in the big. Well, I say massive, but I think it's pretty serious losing your first 2 or 3 siege tanks out of 4, um, getting caught so off guard. I mean, he managed to pull it back and actually constructed a pretty scary all-in 5 fact push. But just I feel like time and again his major flaw in pushing was that he wasn't re-rallying his factories to his position. And the large amount of surface area, as you said, allowed Evil Eye to pincer, but also DNH didn't really lay a lot of mines on his flanks. He kind of laid mines from the direction that he expected Evil Eye to come from, didn't lay anything behind him or kind of ahead of where he was going. That's what I like to do when I play Terran. I send out my vultures first, lay some mines ahead of where I'm pushing, then once my siege tanks set up, the mines are already there, I can bring my vultures back and defend my siege tanks with them. I feel like DNH tried to do that in a couple situations, but a lot of times it seemed like he was just trying to keep up with Evil Eye's pressure on his army.
Yeah, I mean, when I play Terran in TDP, my mindset is I'm never going to leave my base because I can't get murdered if I don't leave until I've got like a 170 army. Then I'm like, all right, I feel confident.
All right, so let's move on to grades. I don't know if you've seen my broadcast, but I like to give people grades. I give them on an A to, I mean, I'm sorry, I've been giving them on a F to A scale, but it's kind of confusing because for me, A is like C plus level play, and then F is obviously F level play. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to start doing from now on is giving star ratings to players, right? So like from 1 to 5 stars, where 5 stars is the C plus, like kind of C plus B minus. That level of play is what you should be aiming for, and then respectively so on down. So like where 1 star or 0 stars would be like absolute, like I don't know, you're playing with your feet, and I don't know, you're getting a blowjob so you're not paying attention, like something like that. So with that introduction set, I would like to give Evil Eye 4 stars. I think he definitely earned them in this game. And the few things that I would like to see him do more of in his games is, as I mentioned earlier, expand a little bit earlier when you get getting an advantage. Don't If you notice that at a couple of times, especially when he was microing in the natural of DNH, he climbed to about 800, 1,000 minerals at a very early point in the game. You could just throw that into a Nexus, and that would be good enough for you. And also the Arbiter tech, I still really do believe that Arbiter tech should come before you get double spinning forges. That should be your first priority. Now, as far as DNH, what do you think, Nujabase?
So with DNH, he had the right idea. Unfortunately, all it really took was just one engagement, or I guess, yeah, not his engagement, but with Evil Eye coming in and killing off his army right off rip, and then killing off a whole bunch of SCVs, definitely put him at a significant disadvantage. But him understanding the game and being like, okay, since I'm behind, I need to do something to kind of recoup from this deficit. He went for the attack, which is a really smart idea. So, I mean, with game sense, I definitely love it because he's thinking as people should, like on their own, as
Hmm.
opposed to like, oh well, I've seen this guy do this. No, he's actually taking it into his own game and being like, this is what I need to do. He's not basing it off of anyone else's uh, strategy.
Yeah,
He's living in the moment, if that makes sense,
yeah, he
which
reacted to the
so
situation.
yeah, and you don't really see that too often with a lower tier.
Hmm.
So that's really cool. Like a lot of people, when you watch, they'll just act like robots. Like, oh, I seen this replay, so I'm just going to do everything that this replay did. You know.
Absolutely.
So I definitely give them that for just ingenuity and just thinking on the fly. His macro seemed well. His supply depots are on point. He did. I mean, other than just engagements and putting his army in the proper position, he did pretty well throughout the entirety of it. Um, with the whole star thing, uh, I mean, I guess I'll just go 3 stars.
That's fair. I actually think I awarded him 4 stars, me personally, and
Okay,
the
yeah,
reason for that is because despite all the early disadvantages that he had, he still managed to make it to a relatively convincing mid game where Evil Eye was rightfully scared at one point when he lost half of his army. I mean, if
yeah.
we consider that Evil Eye earns 4 stars for putting Dark Knight Hunter into that position, I feel like DNH for climbing out of that position, that's also very impressive. And also, I feel like the two big mistakes that he had was the first big mistake, which was not properly defending his natural and getting flanked by 4 dragoons. Something that's very easily fixable the next time he plays. It just seemed like it was a little bit of lack of map awareness at the moment. Something that's very easy to fix, and the rallying that he didn't do. I feel like that those two things, and I guess not having recall defense, those three things are not enough for me to punish him to cut 2 stars out of it. I feel like both winner and loser can have 4 stars.
I got a quick suggestion since this seems like it's kind of on the fly.
Hmm.
Um, what if you made like a score sheet, as opposed to just kind of like throwing everything together in one, but
Oh,
just like, like map awareness, game sense, macro,
true.
micro,
Oh
and then
wow.
like, all right, this guy gets a star for this because he did this and this, as
Hmm.
opposed to just like throwing out like, like
Like in those
because I
fighting
feel like
games. like where they have a like attack, defense, and style, and they give you A, B, A, and then that's yeah. So I
Yeah, yeah. Essentially, like, because that makes more sense into the person to be like, this is where I need to hone in more, if that makes
true.
sense.
That does make sense. I feel I might do that for the playoffs, which are coming up in 2 weeks.
Cool beans.
Yeah, because I feel like that's when we really start getting into the nitty gritty of it. Got to invest a lot of time into everything. For now,
Yeah.
since I'm limited by not only MS Paint, but with the fact that that requires a little bit of preparation, I'm not gonna be able to do that today.
No,
But
of course. Yeah, no, it was just, just tossing it out there.
no, it's a good idea. I like it. I'm definitely gonna think about doing that for the playoffs. In the meantime, let's move on to game number two between DNH and Evil Eye. This one's gonna be on Overwatch, and it's loser's pick. So this was DNH's pick, and I think if you're familiar with this map, as I'm sure you are, I think we both can understand why this map was picked. I definitely like it from the Terran position against Protoss here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at the map. Because isn't there like two Overwatches?
Yeah, this is the Foreigner one, the two-player one. So before we get into that,
Ah, I know this one. Yeah, I like this map. It's fine in my opinion.
yep.
A lot of small, tight chokes, so I could definitely see how this would go both ways, but definitely favors the Terran in my opinion because of mech.
High grounds, a lot of high ground ridges here.
Yeah.
And the way that the third base is designed, it's kind of a mix between the between Circuit Breaker and Fighting Spirit. So it is a little bit harder to defend, but I definitely think that it's easier for Terran to defend their third gas here than it is for Protoss. Considering that there's the high ground is definitely going to benefit Terran who are pushing. And the fact that there's two high grounds immediately outside the entrances of the third gases, so there's definitely a lot of options for Terran on this map. Uh,
Yep.
Speaking of Terran, in the top left we have the yellow Terran, DNH.
And on the bottom right hand corner, winner of the last match, the master in everyone's eyes, we have Evil Eye.
Yes, Evil Eye. Actually, definitely one of the most successful players in this league. For anyone who's not kept up with the league, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but going up until this series, Evil Eye has been undefeated. I'm pretty sure he has 2-0'd every single opponent leading up until this point. So, Evil Eye. I mean, it's very surprising because when I casted him in the ranking tour, the tour that happened before this, the individual tournament. I was watching this guy. I'm like, oh, how'd this guy make it this far? He has 100 APM. His PVZ builds are stupid. You know, what I mean, like it just didn't add up to me that like the mystery that is Evil Eye. But then after getting beaten by him about 14 times like in the past few months, I would have to say that the mystique is it's overstated. It's not that he does anything absolutely crazy. It's just that he's an overall solid player. Great grasp of what he can and cannot get away with. Does the
Yeah.
right things when they're necessary, as we saw with having a lot of gateways, uh, engaging when it was in intelligent ways in good places. So I like this little game that they're having here with the SCV blocking
Yeah.
the yeah.
Hey, quick second. Wife's calling me.
Your ex.
No, my wife. So I'll be back in like 2 seconds.
Okay, see you soon. Yeah, so I don't want to reveal too many personal details, but Urbmon's wife, she was actually just dying in the bathroom, and he opened the conversation that he had with me by saying, "I'm like, oh, how are you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm good. My wife is dying." I'm like, "What?" But she has just been sick in the bathroom, so we're gonna give Urbmon a little bit of time to get back into it. In the meantime, I like the way that Evil Eye's staying annoying with this SCV here, forcing an additional pull. And there's actually like 4 SCVs, 5 SCVs that are pulled off the mineral lines for DNH. I would have to say that's a little bit too much when you're building one factory and scouting with one. I mean, he's losing a lot of mining time off of 17. That's practically 1/3 of his economy. Does manage to take out that probe. I'm not sure if this kind of wall was intentional or not. I think the SCVs can't. Can the Zealot fit through? Okay, it can't. Alright. So actually, it does play out very well into his hands. And meanwhile, we do see Evil Eye actually going for a Zealot Nexus, which is, I feel like it's kind of a risky build. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, I don't understand why that wall is Zealot type, but it is. Maybe it's the diagonal, because I know the diagonal properties are different from the horizontal probably, but it's really hard to say why this wall works, but I have to agree with Evil Eye here. I thought that this wall would not be tight either. I haven't gotten busted on maps like Python multiple times in the past. So that does kind of put a hamper on Evil Eye's plan. I mean, when you go for a Zealot expand, you kind of want to do a little bit of damage at least with the first Zealot. But DNH, it looks like he's following up. He's not going to try to punish this at all. Not going to go for the FD. It looks like he's might go for the Siege expand. I didn't see a mine upgrade. Yeah, there's only 2 Marines, so I doubt it's going to be FD. It's probably going to be Siege expand or something of that nature. Command Center is going to be a lot later than Evil Eye, so is that Starport? Yes, that explains a lot, and that's exactly what I want to see from him last game, from getting all this gas. Starport is actually a really good choice in this situation, I feel like, because with the Cybernetics Core likely to be late from Evil Eye, that means that the robotics is going to be late as well, and he's going to be gas pressured as well, because he went for a Nexus and a Zealot before he got his gas. So he's not going to have observers for quite some time, so I think that dropship is a really smart play here from DNH. Really like it a lot. And that explains also why he delayed his upgrades here, because he didn't need them. He knows that the Protoss army is not going to be scary at any point in time soon. So very intelligent play here from DNH. It's going to be interesting to see how Evil Eye reacts to this, and I love the fact that he's scouting everywhere, making sure that there's no proxies or anything like that. I guess he knows that he should have been expecting an FD, so definitely showing some intelligence, showing a lot of intelligence from both players here. I hope this command center lands doesn't get SCV blocked. Oh, nice. Yeah, very nicely done. One thing that, in case you guys don't know, is instead of telling all these SCVs to go mine this mineral back, what you do is you just grab the SCVs as they're running, like around here. You press C, which is return cargo, and they'll go back to the nearest. That refreshes their sensor of what is the nearest command center. Anyway, back to the game at hand. We have 4 gateways coming up for the Protoss, and he looks like he's thinking about taking his 3rd Nexus sometime soon, considering there's not been a lot of pressure coming his way. In the meantime, the Terran is going to get that dropship coming out shortly. We are seeing a 2nd factory. We're seeing mine upgrade coming up, and one thing that I want to let you guys know, in case you guys didn't know, is that mine grade upgrade takes longer than mine speed upgrade takes longer than mine upgrade, so a lot of Terran players like to get that one first and get the mine upgrade while the dropship has picked up the vultures and is flying towards the Protoss base, because they should finish right around the time that you drop them, and that's what we're going to kind of see here if DNH makes it. Did he? DNH, what are you doing? What do you do? Is he going to wait for mines to defend himself first? I guess that makes sense, given what happened to him in the last game. Or maybe he's going to try to harass from the front and then load up and attack from the back. And actually, a drop here would be absolutely devastating. It could deny mining for a long time.
Yeah, the pylons are going to completely like block off any of the units to really reinforce if the vultures do get it behind the natural.
Yeah, but it looks like he actually managed to trap his own vultures here, so the dropship's not going to have anything to drop for quite some time. It's kind of, I guess, the pitfall of the gamble that he took here. So instead of getting potentially a lot of vultures, he only got, I'm sorry, getting a lot of probes, he only got 1 and got some damage off on some dragoons. And actually, now it became worth it. Yeah, now the tide has changed a little bit. And if he actually manages to come out with these vultures, oh, he does it. Wow, very nice. I would have loved to see him produce more vultures behind this though and load up that dropship, because so far his investment into dropship hasn't really paid off. Well, okay, I lied. It has paid off, but not because of the dropship. It's simply because of the fact that he chose to be aggressive with the vultures.
I mean, I like his idea, you know, like, hey, let's go check out the 3rd. You know, maybe he could have gotten lucky and there would have been probes there that have already transferred, you know. But in the situation, that's not the case. So, yeah, that's how the story unfolds, unfortunately. But this dropship, I mean, this opportunity will be, you know, he's going to have all the time in the world to really utilize the fact of the SimCity that Evil Eye has produced. So it's going to be interesting to see if DNH actually goes through with it, because that dropship is just kind of chilling.
Yeah, it looks like he's going for a 3rd base in the meantime. He has a decent amount of siege tanks, and now he's transitioning back into vulture production, it seems like. So, and that's why the dropship is coming back. I feel like it's a good move here. I would like to see him set up these siege tanks in a nice defensive position, lay maybe 1 round of mines or maybe 2 rounds of mines in the key places, and then take his third and drop off the vultures that are now somewhat depleted, because you don't really need 3 mines when you drop them in a Protoss base. You could have 1 mine, and that's still going to do a lot of what's called a lot of damage, simply in terms of forcing the Protoss to slow down. So yeah, we see the dropship
Oh
here.
man.
Oh, oh, did the probe see it though? That's the question.
No, he didn't. And like that's I was just about to say that's one of those things where you watch a replay and you're like, are you freaking kidding me? The drop ship was literally like a pixel away.
Hmm. And I think that,
Here it comes.
yeah, let's see the reaction time from Evil Eye. This is going to be very important. And if he, okay, no reaction so far. And these 2 dropships in the main base, I love this move from DNH here. He's going to score a lot of hits here. And it looks like not a lot of reaction from Evil Eye. And actually, he's not even trying to mineral walk away. He's just going to be walking. Oh, and yeah, this is why mines, when you're dropping mines, might not always be the best. Simply because of the fact that Protoss, 1 round of Protoss reinforcements from the gateways pretty much nullifies the damage you did. But I mean, looking at the natural, these vultures, I didn't get to click on that one, but this one has 8. If the other one even has half of that, then this has all been completely worth it. And wow, laying mines in the mineral field, so smart. If a zealot comes in here, this could be absolutely devastating. Oh my god, he's trying to bait that zealot, but it didn't work out for him. Wow, so close to doing such terrible damage. And the cannon's gonna save him, so yeah, good play here from Evil Eye. I mean, this is another advantage of going this double forge build before Stargate, is that you're gonna get your cannons quite early. And yeah, we see the double upgrades now. I still would have liked to see the Arbiter first, but in the meantime, DNH did manage to secure his base in the 3rd time, or at least is in the process of finalizing the securing of the 3rd base. So yeah, definitely played out in his favor, and I'm liking his position in this game a lot more than it was in the previous game.
Yeah, DNH is definitely, he's not having to climb Mount Everest. That is Evil Eye. So he's got more of an even playing field, and you can definitely see he's able to get away with a little bit more shenanigans and stuff due to having that extra resources.
Yeah, he's actually, what should be noted is the fact that up until now, I mean, he has turrets, but no academy even. He's just using just the dropship and the vultures that are harassing to keep a tab on. Evil Eye has been proven enough. I feel like dropships are a great investment after you've shown your hand, even because at that point it's always going to be there are dropships on the map. There's never a point in time where you can fully safely take a nexus and wall it off with pylons and build no cannons and say, yeah, this nexus is going to be fine. As soon as the first dropship enters the map, at least for me, my whole entire mentality about how I take bases and how I check my bases and how I defend my bases completely changes. So I really like Terrans that do dropship play, even if it's just once or just a little bit. So.
What goes from a 400 mineral nexus goes into a 650 mineral nexus because you need to throw on the pylon and the cannon.
Absolute minimum, yeah. And if they drop a siege tank and 2 vultures, yeah, just the amount of flexibility that Terrans get out of their dropships means that you kind of have to be ready to cover all options. So definitely do recommend for all of you budding Terran players out there to try some dropship builds and see how they work for you.
Yeah, I remember not too long ago. Well, actually, no, this was pretty long ago when Jangbang was streaming StarCraft. A lot of the Terran opponents, like, I don't know if it was just something in the air, but they were doing a lot of just dropship 2 siege tank play, and just how fast it would just destroy a mineral line was just like ridiculous. And if the Protoss doesn't, respond fast enough, their nexus is gone. So
yeah,
it's just one of those things where it's just like, like I feel like dropships should be utilized more, but I mean, I'm not entirely sure on like the downfalls of doing it as well. I mean, I guess you lose that many vultures or that many siege tanks, or just the fact that you're going into such a quick starport that takes away the time and resources to utilize into siege tanks. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different things like pros and cons to it, but I definitely see a lot of advantages coming out from dropship play in PvP.
Yeah, definitely one of the foreseeable disadvantages is that your early siege tank count and your early factory count is going to be low. It's going to be very hard for you to do a push to punish a greedy Protoss if your dropship play fails, for example, because you're not going to have the factory count or the gas to maintain a lot of early tank production. But looking more into this game specifically, I like the fact that Evil Eye is keeping a presence in the middle of the map. Meanwhile, DNH is, has a whole entire block of siege tanks here doing absolutely nothing. Like, I feel like he could be starting to think about what he wants to do next at this point already. He has enough army for it. There's absolutely no way that Protoss is going to try to push through this tiny bridge at the front. I feel like he should start developing his position over this high ground where he has the 2 mines there. If he starts pushing with his siege tanks there, I mean, look at Evil Eye. He's trying to take the top right base right now. It's exactly in the line of sight of DNH's push pattern, or at least where it should be.
Yep.
So if I was DNH, I would like to start scanning around, seeing what's going on the map, and trying to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I'd definitely be a lot more mobile. DNH is above the 175, 170 supply mark for mech army, and that's when I believe that, and what I see from a lot of pros and stuff, that's when they start liking to push out. I mean, of course, Flash is different because his control is just amazing, but for a lot of people, it's usually the 170 mark.
Yeah, I think that that's exactly the point at which the Terran if cost efficiency supersedes any army that Protoss can have, is around that 170 mark. So that's why 170 is a decent time to push out, because no matter what 200 Protoss has, if you position well, it's going to go. But this is going to be a big engage. Nope. Evil Eye wisely recognizes that pushing up against this Terran force is not the best of choices at this moment. His Arbiters are late. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. He just got his first Arbiter out, no energy on it. Energy upgrade is not even going to be the first one he gets. He's getting recall first, which in this case could be, fatal. When you see that a push is coming, you want to have stasis at the least. And when your Arbiter is building, you want to have energy researching, so that because it takes almost exactly the same amount of time as an Arbiter does. So it's going to be a waiting game for Evil Eye here. I don't think he's going to be able to engage this force freely for quite some time. And also a dropship in the back from DNH. Wow. Damn, he hit all of those Zealots. That was really good. And yeah, all those Zealots are hurt now.
Yep.
Now,
so, and with the spot that DNH is sieging up at, this is going to be super beneficial. It's going to be really hard for Protoss to be able to get the engagement, but it does seem like he's going to be pushing in. Vultures are definitely where they need to be. Some more siege tanks in the back of the siege up, but a huge stasis on about 6 or 5 siege tanks.
I take it back, Evil Eye. You knew better than I did. You already had the stasis. Very nicely done. I thought that he was getting recall first because he was so confident in his position, but now this engagement that should have been almost completely in DNH's favor, I feel like the fact that he didn't have all of his siege tanks shut... Ooh, but now... Oh, Evil Eye is losing a lot now, and the thing about stasis is once this stasis is over, all those units come back into play. So Evil Eye definitely in a bit of a pickle right now, I would have to say, losing that kind of an army. Yeah, I was about to say DNH should really start thinking about starting to make this push happen, because it seems like this has been a pattern for him in the past few games. Like, he pushes out, he gets a good engagement, or at least a decent engagement, and then he just doesn't, nothing comes out of the push. You know, I mean, he's just kind of sitting there waiting for the Protoss to do something about his position. What he should be doing is unsieging a couple of those siege tanks and then pushing them forward to this ramp. Yeah, leapfrog over to that pushing location. He needs to be doing it a lot quicker than he's doing it right now. Because as of now, ultimately speaking, Evil Eye, all he did was trade armies. And in about 30 supply, I don't think it's going to matter much. All while sitting on more bases than DNH.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's one of those things where it's like his main focus, and you can tell, is back at home. That's where all the motion, his movements are at. And that's where one of those things where it's just like he is capped by his APM. And it's just one of those things that are really hard to be able to get the army to rally over. But it does now seem like we're going to be seeing him pushing up towards the 3 o'clock position while taking a 4th behind this. Keep in mind, it's only going to be a mineral only, so that's going to not help as much with the siege tank count, but vultures would definitely be plentiful. And he is now finally going to be able to scout out the top right-hand location as well, so he knows his next area to engage at. So one thing that I'd like to keep in mind with this map specifically, if he keeps like a handful of siege tanks and vultures outside of this bridge, literally he can go and move all around the map with a bigger army, because for the Protoss to engage here, it would just take so No one would want to engage here. Well, but it seems like a recall actually just happened up at the 12 o'clock position, and this base is going to be completely ramsacked. There's nothing here to really help out. The SUVs are going to go for the repair, but actually, no, they're just going to retreat now.
Yeah, losing this base kind of a big situation because this gas is the last like really full gas that he has. His natural is running low. His main is about to be depleted, so Terran's gonna be down to 2 gas, and in the meantime, Evil Eye still has 4 bases. I mean, he's not mining his 4th gas, not that he very much needs it, but this is a pretty serious blow. And honestly, in maps where there's so little surface area inside the 3rd base, like not a lot of room for turrets, not a lot of room for mines that wouldn't simultaneously kill your whole SCV population. It's a difficult situation. I feel like the major thing that you can do
Another
is,
engagement coming down at the choke at Evil Eye's natural.
yeah, I see it. He did try to bust out. I think it was a recall that did it. I think he must have recalled onto the 3rd base. But he's gonna lose the Arbiter here. I think this he overextended here a little bit. Evil Eye did, thinking that he was in a better position than he might have been. But I mean, things could be quite desperate for him, as you mentioned earlier. If the siege tanks and vultures do post up here outside the tiny bridge outside the natural of Evil Eye, then not only can he move around the map, if he controls the other high ground that is outside the 3rd base, then he has pretty much cornered the Protoss player in this map. DNH is expanding to the former base of Evil Eye.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of comical.
I mean, no one would expect it, but you're also right in the recall path of Protoss. And here comes another one. I'm sure there's gonna be another recall right here once he finds
They
out.
just have the energy.
Yeah, I guess maybe he is gonna go back to this top left base. I do like the fact that DNH now did lay some mines in his main base. I would have liked to see some turrets though as well. I mean, considering how much money he's been mining, had been mining up until that point, he could have definitely afforded some turrets around the ring edge of the map. Because what Protoss players do, or at least what I do sometimes, I check with the obs first to see where the mines are, and then I recall where there are no mines. But it looks like the Arbiter is going to be coming into this base that's not even completely done, and the vessel just got 100. Is it going to be able to EMP in time? No, no reaction. Ooh, no mines either. Oh no, but good scan.
But this actually is going to be cleaned up pretty quick. I think this was actually a loss on Evil Eye's behalf.
Absolutely. Yeah, the reaction from DNH, while not the best one, was definitely a quick one, which was a good move by on his part. I wonder if he has EMP, because this vessel, it got 100 energy just as the Arbiter was flying past. I feel like the Arbiter would have been a good move here. And look at this, Evil Eye being cute, trying to cannon up this this 3 o'clock base.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Just to force
Imagine if that worked.
Yeah. So one thing I want to know is I feel like DNH could have very easily at this point, by now at least, used the floating command center that he was trying to take top right with, and used
Ooh,
it.
another recall.
Nice, good placement here, and because it's not sieged up and the vultures are kind of out of position, this guy actually could take out the rest of the tanks here, which would be very good for him. I mean, there are still some siege tanks in the back, but they're not going to be able to. Yeah.
I mean, he has those siege tanks that are just kind of chilling there, but he is going to just utilize the vultures to his advantage and might be getting an SCV.
No scan. No,
yeah.
Yeah, no scan here. And,
scanned the wrong spot.
Yeah, this is getting really sloppy and scrappy here. I mean, should be noted though that Evil Eye, he's down to 2 mining bases. His main, natural, and 3rd, they're all mined out. He's very fortunate to use this kind of chaotic moment to transfer all these probes out. And as I was saying earlier, I mean, he did just lose his own 4th base at this point, DNH did. Or I guess it's his 5th base by now. But this top right base is so easy to kill with just 2 siege tanks, and it would at least force a defensive recall as opposed to all these aggressive ones that have been doing him so much discomfort, causing so much discomfort over the past few minutes.
Yeah.
Evil Eye's been getting away with murder in this case, I think.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things like he can only focus in so many spots, and he's giving macro his primary focus, which is definitely helping him stay in the game though. Like, he's not everywhere on the map where he needs to be, but at the same time, at least he has something, you know?
Yeah, you have to really think though that at some point, like, there are things that are more important to do than macro. Like people have this like, I've been hearing this dogma be pushed, like, you know, like, oh, just macro, you'll do great, and that is probably true when you're trying to get out of D ranks. But I feel like at the C plus rank level, when you're trying to get better, you have to start prioritizing what you do when. You know, having a dominant position against Evil Eye isn't just about making more units than him. It would include, you know, taking out that top right base a lot sooner. It would
Yeah.
include making sure that the bottom left base never got taken. If you miss a macro round because of that, I don't think it's gonna lose you the game outright, but it could put you in a better position to win.
Or just like real subtle things like a Vulture at every
Expansion, yeah.
expansion. So because they're only going to send a probe, I've seen so many Protosses get so kerfuffled because they can't just send a probe and build bases. It's like, send a Zealot with it. They're like, nah, you know. It's just like those really subtle things make a huge difference, but it doesn't seem to be the case in this recall. It was actually able to completely kill off the 3 o'clock position for DNH, and it looks like Evil Eye, even though it was in a tight spot, is actually going to be able to play a little bit of cat and mouse, him being the mouse and just slowly expanding all on the corners of the map.
Yeah, definitely very nicely done here from Evil Eye, keeping that survival mode alive. But now that he's lost all this army, if you look at the supplies, this is really scary at this moment for him. I
Yeah.
have to believe. I mean, these he's making the most of his army, I feel like, except for the ones that he sent to die in mines. But I feel like really DNH, if he scans the natural of Evil Eye right now, he should know that he should just push. If you look at the 2 Stargates that are out front, I've been trying to mention this for a while, but never had a real good opportunity to do so. A push to the front and that kills your Arbiter production is pretty much fatal to a Protoss this late in the game. And DNH, once again, you know, he's just not making that killer blow. He's letting all the key areas of Evil Eye stay alive. If you look at the tally of what he's done, he's killed some armies and he killed 1 base. You know, he hasn't really he hasn't really capitalized on whatever advantages he's had throughout this game.
Yeah, and like that's definitely a good point because just killing an army isn't an advantage. It's what you do with that advantage is what, you know, like right now he has opportunity and he's not doing anything with the opportunity.
Yeah. And now Evil Eye, I think he's getting a little bit more comfortable in his position. He's starting to get a little bit more creative. He's building some Dark Templar now as well. Even though he has Arbiters, I feel like he knows that if he sends out 1 DT, that can take out 1 tank by itself. And yeah, so here, watch this. He's gonna send out 1 DT. Oh, it gets scouted. Oh, stasis. And now with the, this is still not a good engagement angle for him. If there's a scan that goes down, yeah, he's just throwing army now. So maybe a little bit of a overcommittal here for sure. This is a dicey spot. I mean, I still can't.
Oh god, there's that at the mineral only for a DNH. Evil Eye's got a shuttle with the HT there. Nothing's come out of it yet. Yeah, this game is definitely just going back and forth. Oh, there's the drop. It finally gets a couple kills, 6 kills to be exact, but the shuttle is finished off. But yeah, like we keep saying, you know, DNH needs to profit, but he's not doing so.
I mean, it's crazy how Evil Eye went from being 1 base fighting against 3 base to now being 3 base fighting against what is effectively like 1.5 base. You know, this 12 o'clock from DNH is going to run out very soon, and he's still trying to take this 3 o'clock. I don't understand why he's just allowing the top right to just live. I mean, like I said, 2 siege tanks and a floating building would have been more enough to take it out years ago. He's already, and in the meantime, he has about 20 siege tanks concentrated on this 1 bridge that would be impossible for Protoss to cross if there was even 5. So already, I feel like he's kind of almost panicking. He's not making the best decisions with his army position, and that's how Evil Eye just steps out right into the middle of the map by taking out 2 mines.
I like how DNH is once again retaking the 3 o'clock.
Yep.
Oh no, the mineral only.
We need to see an EMP here. We need to see. There's 2 vessels. Oh my god, 1 goes down. Oh, just too late, but he does get the entire army. He does get the entire army, so that's good. But he needs to scan ahead and make sure he kills this army. Oh. I like this. I like the fact that he sieged up a little bit, but it might have. Yeah.
Well, it's okay. There's 2 zealots, but yeah, this army is going to melt instantly.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, now Evil Eye, he's really back into this now. I mean, he has the economy to support all the gateways that he's made earlier in the game. He's on 15 gateways. He's gonna be able to produce a lot more now. I mean, he's back up to like 60 probes on 4 mineral lines soon to be. and DNH just lost his pretty much his last base. I mean, he has like 200, 100 on some of these mineral patches at 12 o'clock. So it's, because of his relative inaction, DNH is in a tough spot again. Oh, and 3 o'clock, of course, which is so susceptible to being recalled.
Well, it's one of those things where I feel like DNH is oh yeah, okay, sweet, we're gonna see a base get taken out. But
Yeah,
like DNH is playing a style to where it's just like you just can't kill me type thing, you know?
yeah,
Like I'm not gonna kill you, but like I'm gonna be here.
yeah.
And if you want to win the game, you got to keep throwing your armies away.
Yeah, but I mean that works, but in some scenarios, but not in the one where you give up a lot of bases for free and
Oh
don't take
yeah.
any of your own. You know, what I mean, like that's a
Oh,
is a thing
I'm
that
not
Terran
saying
do.
it's the best strategy, but
Yeah.
I'm saying like that's how I feel like his mindset is right now.
No, like
Because he
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I interrupted you.
Yeah, yeah, no. It's just one of those things where it's just like, maybe he just doesn't feel comfortable with laying down the hammer, but it's just one of those things where it doesn't seem to be his strongest point. But here comes an engagement, finally being able to break out the choke. The Dark Templars and Archons actually providing to be of great use right
Yeah.
after DNH was able to take out the mineral only as well.
Yeah. I would say that I've seen Terran do that really like laid back style where they don't do anything. They say, you just can't kill me, I'm going to slowly encroach and take bases, but they still slowly encroach and take bases, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah.
and their version of you can't kill me is like, two or three turrets layers around their bases, so no arbiter will ever get through with science vessels at every corner to EMP you before you get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more demanding than it looks, and that's what we're kind of seeing here, where DNH kind of tried to play that style, but he didn't have all the elements of the puzzle, and now he's mining out his last minerals. He doesn't have 400 for a command center. He's gonna have to. Oh, and he's floating his natural, and he's gonna find the base of Evil Eye there. Like I can't. You have to believe that he just didn't know. But he didn't know that he was so
No,
far
he knew.
behind.
He scattered it out.
Yeah, he didn't scout off. Oh no, he did scout bottom left. Now that I'm looking at his dark ass mini map.
Yep.
So,
All right, so we got a little bit of movement coming out. Some just random siege tanks caught off guard, and the Protoss is just going to be able to completely kill it off. Wow, that was an overkilled siege tank right there.
but there are migrating over here to try to defend this base, and this is exactly what DNH could have done at any point in the game in the past like 10 minutes. I would say is do this kind of a push to the top right. Like maybe again it's a lack of familiarity with the map. Maybe he didn't know that there was a base there until he floated the command center over there. I don't really know what to say. I mean, as you said, it could be APM tax, but actually he manages to hold this one off. So there is a breath of life in him left. If he takes out this command center, I'm sorry, this Nexus and these cannons and defends this place really well, he might actually be able to get back on his feet a little bit. But time is ticking because Evil Eye is still mining.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, it does look like he has a command center readily available to throw down and start harvesting out of it to get back. And we're going to see huge SCV transfer to that exact base.
Yeah, he also got caught off a little bit off guard. He had a vessel and 5 tanks out here, which at this point in the game is not something that he can readily sacrifice. You know, you can't be losing money at that rate, losing an army at that rate, especially if you're not mining for such a long time. But he is going to be able to take this base now finally. Meanwhile, I expect that Evil Eye is going to finally retake his own 3 o'clock base sometime soon after he takes the mineral only at center of the map. So I mean, this game is still gonna go on though, because at the same Evil Eye currently at this very moment only has 1 real mineral line against 1 real mineral line of DNH, and actually Evil Eye is the more mined out one. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this keeps playing out. Now that DNH has some income coming in, he has a little bit of time before he can start looking scary again, and Evil Eye might be able to do something in that little time window. Ooh,
Well, I guess the top right base is never going to get taken out because it's fully mined out now.
Yeah.
Or like just about. Whoop, yeah, that stasis going down, and a recall at the only expansion for DNH is not looking too good right now.
Yeah, the Arbiter is so key late in the game because it makes small army engagements like these mined out map situations, makes it a lot more fair for Protoss, because normally mech is so cost effective you would never be able to do anything about it. But with a stasis recall, That's kind of exactly what the doctor ordered in this situation, and that's exactly how Evil Eye is going to take the commanding position here. The command center went down, I believe. Did it? Yeah, it's about to go down right now. And that's going to leave DNH with one command center. No, two command centers, sorry, but, it's still very rough for him.
Oh my god! Oh, he almost saved it.
Yeah, when you're repairing a flying CC, yeah, GG. Very well played. Wow, that was really intense, honestly. That was really tight.
Yeah. Really happy with how Evil I played. Just even though he was down, he was not out, and just kept at it. And that's one of those things where like StarCraft Brood War is very stressful, and just like your mindset behind everything. If it's not in a good spot, you can just throw away the game and just leave instantly. But he showed a lot of determination and just stayed in it and was able to, pull it out.
Absolutely. Definitely a good survivability from Evil Eye. There were some minor things that I really didn't like that he did, like throwing down the stargates inside his natural. Like a lot of the thing that dies first when a Terran pushes you and you're at a slight disadvantage is your naturals. Like you can hold on to all the tech you want inside your main base. It's incredibly hard for Terran to push up your ramp. But if he lost those two stargates when Darknet Hunter had a serious army advantage, like Evil Eye would not have been able to survive so long without those arbiters that had kept him in the game, and losing those stargates would have been the crucial crucial loss there. So definitely a risky position from Evil Eye. I like as you said, he stayed alive under the stress, under the pressure of losing so much on a map that seemed to not be favoring him. But I still feel like he also, if he had gotten the arbiters earlier, he wouldn't be as much of a pickle as well.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just one of those things where his placement was just based on like lack of experience on that map.
True. It's possible. And in general, I feel like two-player maps, they're not all two-player maps, but I feel like the overall it's harder for Protoss on two-player maps because you can't put your gateways in another base where you would be able to instantly flank, and that's what kind of contributed to Evil Eye being cooped up on his corner of the map for so long. So I definitely have to give props to DNH for that. That was very well done by him. It was just
Right.
the frustrating inaction from him once he got that superior position is just it was such a it was so painful to see. I mean, I don't really know what
It's
else
like
to
you see
say.
all this potential and opportunity, and
Yeah,
just for it not to be exploited is just like it. It left an unsatisfying feeling in my stomach.
yeah,
It's like you have the opportunity, fucking do it, and then they don't, and you're like, ah.
yeah.
But it is what it is. It's completely different. I mean, definitely coming from like a streamer point of view,
hmm
day in day out, there will always be people like, "Oh, why don't you push here? Why don't you do this?" Like, well, because my mind was like everywhere, while your mind was only on one thing.
hmm
Like things are a lot. Hindsight's 2020.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't agree more. I mean, we're obviously talking about the ideal scenario here. I feel like if even 10% of what we say comes up in someone's mind when they're playing the next time, they're like, "Oh, I remember that time that they said that maybe I should go take out bases." Like I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
even if you think about it once out of 10 games, that's exactly what we're going for. So
Yep.
don't take it wrong. We're judgmental, but we're judgmental for the purposes of the off chance that at some point you will remember what was
It'll
said here today.
trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, like big. And with that being said, as well, me with ZVP is a defiler. Like I remember Bakaru telling me, he's like, "You need to get defiler more often." I'll look at the clock; it's 14 minutes in. I'm like, I should have defiler by now.
Yeah.
So yeah, like those things do happen too. Like you'll be in the middle of the game, and just like if anyone's familiar with like Zelda Ocarina of Time, you got your little Nevi, and
hmm
hey, build this. You're like, oh yeah. For
True.
once, you're actually helpful.
Very true. All right. I'm gonna need a 3-minute intermission, so I'm gonna put on some music and I'll be right back.
Dope sauce.
what you are in this world. That's either one or two things. Either you're somebody or you're nobody. Be right back.
All right, I'm back. Let's get into the next series, which is going to be the ZVP. It's going to be N Baker against F10 EQQ.
Woo!
So yeah, game's up. It's CPL password CPL on Circuit Breaker. So what are your thoughts about this map for ZVP?
I love it. Um, a lot of diversity. Let's put it that way. Because if the Protoss opponent opens Gateway Expand, it forces the Zerg player to take the closer mineral only base. So you see a lot more kind of like soft Hydra opener into a strong Lurker Ling upgrade defense into the fourth. And then if the Protoss Forge Fast expands, it allows for a very strong late game type scenario. And with that being said, there's just a lot of different areas that both races can exploit due to multiple entrances and whatnot to all the different types of bases. So I'm excited for it. I always love ZVP. PBZ, whatever matchup. I mean, I love all of the matchups in the game. They're all fun. They've all got their quirks and, funny things. So, I don't know. I'm excited to see how these guys play.
Let's see how it goes.
Yep.
All right, in the top left, we have the blue Protoss, F10 EQQ.
Inhaling from the Krispy Kreme donut factory, spawning on the bottom right-hand corner of Circuit Breaker. As the white Zerg, we have Baker.
I see what I thought you were saying. From inhaling from the Krispy Kreme donut factory, I thought that you had a donut in your mouth. That's why you didn't say anything for a second. But I got it now.
I was holding back the laughter. I was like, stop laughing.
I really want to know the history behind the name N Baker. Now that I think about it, you know what I mean? Like, why Baker and why N? You know?
Hey, what's your name? Baker? Question mark.
All right, so we are gonna see a forward pylon from F10 EQQ, and it looks like he's gonna scout. This is I mentioned this in a previous broadcast, but I love to mention things over and over again that are really minor and really simple in terms of fixing what you do wrong. So yeah, first of all, this scouting pad. Oh, I see what he's doing. He's gonna scout the other cross position first.
I've had this done to me, and it's so freaked with my mind, because like I seen like in this situation. Well, typically Zergs want to scout on Circuit Breaker, north or south.
Yeah, so it's a double mindfuck right now.
Yeah, so it's like a super mindfuck, but like in my position, I would have scouted and seen that probe and been like, oh, he's top right-hand corner.
Yes.
And then, but not. So like, I don't know, like right now, the game is only a minute and 50 seconds in, and it's already just weird.
Yeah. Yeah, so At first I thought that F10 and QQ was going to the top right base, which is really, really questionable as a decision. You know, that's just outright wrong, I would say, at this point. But that cross scout is really interesting. I'm really impressed with that play here because, as you said, you know, like it completely misdirects the Zerg to where the opponent is, and now F10 is the one that's probably thinking to himself like, what the fuck is going on here? You know what I mean? Like, he just scouted bottom left. He's like, wait, what? So now he's gonna be confused. And N Baker, in the meantime, is, you know, he's kind of oblivious to everything that's going on. I mean, maybe sending the Overlord horizontal was actually a mind trick of his own. You know, I mean, because it's becoming so popular to check the what's called the middle expansions for the Overlord. Maybe it was intentional. And if it was, then, you know, this is already like some like really high level gameplay. I think like some really high level mind games here.
All right, so with everything being done so far, let's point out the builds. N Baker, super greedy, and I like it because this map allows for this to be viable, as opposed to like fighting Spirit or one-player maps. He went for a 12 hatch, which is a stronger economy, and due to the fact that F10 EQQ was unable to scout out quick enough, he got scared and threw down a double cannon. So N Baker is actually in a very cozy opener.
Yeah.
Just let's hope he doesn't get too greedy and neglects to make Zerglings.
Yeah, the thing is, he did make the Zerglings do. His opener is actually not as greedy as you might think because of the fact that he followed it up with gas and pool. So, but he did get the third hatchery at the vertical base. What's your opinion on that? Do you think that Zergs in this case should expand horizontally to the horizontal main or to the vertical main?
I mean, when it's cross positions like this, I would prefer to see a pro or a Zerg expand horizontal instead of vertical, because you can utilize the bottom half for like transiting units around. But when you do it like this, you can't run through the 3 o'clock, so your units are exposed. So if you're trying to like regroup and lack of a Nidus Canal or something like that, they can get caught off guard and cause a sad Zerg.
Yeah, and it should be also noted that when Zergs go for the horizontal base, in between the 2 horizontal bases, there's 2 additional mineral onlys as well. Whereas in the vertical pathway, you do get the 3rd gas in between, but it's not as well connected or insulated from Protoss aggression. And so in general, I would say that expanding horizontally is probably the better choice. But knowing seeing the way that this game has been going so far, maybe N Baker's trying to mindfuck again. So maybe he's going for something that F10 might be less accustomed to, which is he would also have to expand vertically. You know what I'm saying? He would not be able to expand horizontally from this position.
Okay, so now with this being said, so the Zerg player is pretty much playing standard, going for the 3 hatch layer Spire, which is perfectly fine. But the Protoss now is up to some shenanigans of his own. He's actually going to be going quick Citadel, so we're going to be seeing some speed, zealot, aggression coming out from the Protoss, which is a very strong timing if the Protoss or if the Zerg player doesn't get any scouting information. And as of right now, there's currently no Overlords in the base, and if N Baker is going pure off of scouting purely off of the Protoss's natural gas timing, he's going to be completely thrown off because he threw down the second assimilator way too quick for the Citadel Zealot timing. Oh, and actually, no. So, oh my God, the mind games are real in this game. So, what the Protoss is going to be doing, I'm just going to not try to say his name because it's going to throw me off every time. Or I'll just call him QQ. So QQ, what he's doing is he's going to force mutas because the Zealots are going to come out super quick and do a lot of damage. And then with the muta transition from N Baker, he's going to follow it up with a double Stargate to completely just evaporate. I can't speak. Just destroy mutas. There we go. Easy words. Yeah, eviscerate. There, thank you.
No problem.
And it's just going to really put N Baker in a very awkward position because with the scouting information, if he scouted out right now, all he has to do is defend with some Sunkens to negate or to block these Zealots, and then just build Hydralisks, and then he's in a golden position. But with the lack of information, actually no, this Overlord, does he see anything?
Yeah, he saw the two Stargates. I double checked it. Just as you were saying that he had no information, this Overlord walked in just far enough to see the Stargates, or just far enough
Oh,
out. So it's a very, very nice information-based play here, and he is
yeah.
throwing down the Hydra Den. I would like to see a couple of Scourge at least here to deny the first few Corsair, because it's when the Stair count gets to 4, it's already going to be a little bit troublesome to start picking them off with Scourge. It's when the first 2 are out, that's when it's your best opportunity to start keeping the count low, in my personal Protoss crying experience. Uh, but these Hydras, yeah, they're going to have speed. They're coming. Scourge are coming out now. But the lack of Hydras out immediately and no static defense means that these Zealots are going to get right inside the main base and probably do a little bit more damage.
Yeah, he has a significant amount of Zerglings to be able to clean up the Zealot aggression, pulling off some of the drones just for safety purposes, but I feel like a little bit unnecessary. A little bit of drilling could have been beneficial. My response to a double Stargate is to definitely just throw down instantly 2 spores, because 2 spores per base will be able to defend against everything accordingly, because they can't just chill. And if you don't have a significant Hydra count, those overlords are just going to melt, and it hurts.
It should be noted though that this speed lot build, it's kind of strange because he doesn't have the +1, even though pardon me, he has quite a lot of gas. I think he could have definitely afforded to at least start it at some point, but with no +1, these Zealots are almost, they feel kind of neutered against Zerglings. So, but they are going like, you know, north-south, north-south with no map presence, and Baker is always playing catch-up to these Zealots running around, so he's going to be in a tough pickle to defend this base now. These transporting drones left and right all the time, it's going to be very damaging to his economy.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where the Zerg player needs to take in consideration that he cannot aggress, so he needs to just focus on defense, and he's not really doing so in that field. And here comes just a lack of control right now. The Overlords are spread out, so the Corsairs are going to have free reign. Hydralisks are out of position, and the Zealots are just going to keep going back and forth, killing off all the Zerglings, or at least a significant amount. So right now, it's just really tough for N. Baker, because there's just a lot of things he's got to juggle right now, and he's not juggling accordingly. Ooh, F10 losing a couple Corsairs, and the Scourge that are chilling at the 12 o'clock position are just not being utilized.
Yeah, he has a total of 6 Sair now, though, so I think at 6 Sair without the +1, you're able to snipe Scourge that aren't, you know, in a very, you know, spread out position, which these Scourge are actually kind of are. He might actually be able to get some hits off of it if he does land it right now, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And Baker trying to stabilize. I'm surprised to see, like, you know, a lack of sunken colonies. I don't think Lurker upgrade has started. Lurker upgrade, I think, would pretty much deny whatever aggression Protoss has outright at this point, and really help the Zerg secure 4 bases. But until that point, I still feel like this is still very much F10 EQQ's game so far with the damage done
Oh, definitely. One of the things that the Zerg player could have done, because when you're supply blocked, yeah, it sucks. You just got to produce Overlords and wait for it. But while you're waiting for it, in my opinion, just throw down the stack defense, throw down the hatcheries. Yeah, you're not going to have that many drones on the mineral line, but you're going to be able to reproduce. You need to focus on you know, preparing for the next attack, because if you don't do anything until the Overlords pop, then, you know, you haven't done anything.
Exactly.
So yeah,
and this attack right here is going to be absolutely vicious, I feel like. I mean, just with 6 Zealots and 2 DTs, it's actually, there's even more Zealots pouring in now from the south. This is going to be absolutely enormous. He's not going to have enough army to hold this, even if this sunken finishes, I have to say.
Yeah, this definitely Protoss's game.
Yeah, I feel like if he had the Lurker upgrade earlier, and he could have potentially even, you know, made his 6th hatchery on top of that evolution chamber to help him out just a little bit, he might be able to hold this, but he had already lost so much by that point, and Lurker upgrade was so late that this is absolutely devastating to the Zerg. Losing this base like this, even if he does manage to make it here on time, the DTs are going to clean up whatever army he sends, so...
And Corsairs are going to clean up all the
Overlords, yeah.
Overlords, so yep.
Absolutely devastating attack here from F10.
Very
nicely played. Yeah, the hatchery goes down, and once Zerg loses this many hatcheries, you have to start considering, like, oh man, I'm in trouble. See, all right, what I would like to see from F10, let's think about what we could do that's positive. Yes, good. He started the Storm upgrade just now. Look at how much gas he has. He could easily transition into start adding High Templar to his army to really put the nail in the coffin, and he did start his observatory and finished it, which is really nice. But I would have also liked to seen a third base from him. I mean, adding more zealots and DTs at this point, I mean, he could possibly just 1A, 2A, 3A and win. But if you want to stay ahead, yeah, there we go. There's a third Nexus as well. So yeah, very nicely done by F10. Pretty much hit the checklist as I was naming it from this position. And I think that F10 with this army, even if he loses this third base, could just straight up walk in and win. And what are your thoughts on the Hydralisk upgrades? Because he went for a speed first, then range, then lurker. I think
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel like in that situation where you're facing against this heavy zealot Sarah combination, I feel like I would have gone for a lurker upgrade as soon as possible just to hold off the zealots, and then use spore colonies to hold off the Sarah. I don't. What do you think about that?
Honestly, in this scenario, Mass Hydralisk would have been the answer because it's. I mean, you still need your static, but Mass Hydra would have been fine because there's no Storm. The Storm is the only thing that you really need any tech for, because of the fact of that's the only thing that really counters in the Protoss arsenal of just a giant clump of Hydralisks. I mean, yeah, Reaver, but Reaver was nowhere, perceived in this. Yeah. So, honestly, if he was able to just hold off the initial aggression with the static, and then, drone up during that process, he would have been able to just produce nothing but Hydralisk and just dealt with it accordingly. But that wasn't the situation. I believe that Zergs should not be afraid to sacrifice that Overlord in the main, because it just gives so much crucial information, because that's half the matchup of ZVP is just figuring out what the hell is this Protoss doing. Because with Zerg, it's pretty simple in regards to, okay, the Zerg's going to Hydra or he's going to Muta. And
Yeah.
that's putting out the fact of, Zergling aggression.
Yeah, and Baker did get that Overlord inside the main base, but it was his second Overlord, the one that went like the long way around, which I can't blame him for it, because the Overlord that he initially sent, it had to go from the south, which is where the natural is, which is where the cannons are, and potentially dragoons or the first Sayer or something like that. So the fact that it was cross map kind of slowed down the timing at which he could have scouted, and when he got there, he already saw two Stargates pumping. So I think that's what prevented him from going in, really seeing exactly what F10 was doing. So it is kind of unfortunate. I feel like a thing that I see a lot of Zergs do that I really, really like is that they scout with their Scourge. He had the Spire early enough to be able to do that. And if the Protoss doesn't have a cannon up, you might be able to snipe the first Sayer even if you do that. So
yeah, and those are nice things as well. But if you would have just had that Overlord in the base and take notice that those gateways were done, and then a double Stargate would have, it should register like I need static, because at that point the Zerg is still in drone production.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah, there's guides on Team Liquid to any of the Zergs out there that could definitely. I mean, even Protos's Liquipedia, even though they're kind of outdated in a sense, they still hold some good material within them to just basically explain to how many workers you need on both sides, probes or drones, to what you need to build to, and then from that point on, what you need to be able to scout out, know how to react, and know what your abilities are. So Team Liquid, to those who don't know, it's a great website that has so much benefit to it.
absolutely. And on the Liquipedia, one thing that I hear a lot of people say, like, oh, this is outdated, right? Maybe the exact numbers of when you made this hatchery and when you made that upgrade, maybe that stuff is outdated, but in a lot of the build orders, they have kind of the theory behind the build written below it. And that's what I feel like is really the meat of what you're trying to learn in this game, is understand why certain things are the way they are and why certain things work. And at this
Exactly.
level, at DC rank, I don't think there's such a thing as an outdated build. Pretty much any
Nope.
build can work if you do it really well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. For a while, ZVT was like my bread and butter, because when I started playing the game, that's all I played against. And then ZVZ, I finally, learned that, because it's not really too diverse. It's just, 9 pool, 12 hatch, 12 pool, and you just circle around that. And yeah, you got your little bit of hybrid builds here and there, but they don't show themselves as much. But ZVP was one of the biggest like frustrations with me. And with that being said, I like basically sat down, watched replays and stuff, and like I was trying to do like that whole like robot style gameplay like we were talking about earlier, where I was just like, well, I seen effort do this, so this is all I'm going to do. It doesn't work like that because ZVP is probably, in my opinion, one of the most evolved matchups there is because the meta and the style and strategies have shifted and are going to continuously shift because Protosses are like, all right, Zergs are expecting this, so we got to do this. And it's a perfect example because there's plenty of guides on Team Liquid that go over on how the shift has been made from Savior being the overpowered player, who's a very strong Zerg, to where Bisu came into play. And with Bisu's build, pretty much utilized the fact of Corsair and a Dark Templar. And then once that got figured out, Jadon came into the scene and made that Protoss style seem stupid. Yeah, exactly. So like there's just continuous shifts. And as of right now, with the current meta of
Gateway
ZVP,
first.
yeah, we got Gateway first.
We got
and
low
like
static defense, fast defiler, Hydra based, near thirds with 6 hatchery production in the early mid game. That's something that was unthinkable just like a couple of years ago when everyone was going for the 4 gas turtle style.
Exactly. So like with that being said, it's like the matchup is so based on just like knowledge. It's just like executing micro and stuff like that is definitely important, but it's mostly like like what is this guy doing? I need to know what he's doing because the potential is endless on both ends. But I feel like Zerg is more of the reactive race, but Protoss is definitely like I played multiple games where it's like I've seen someone throw down a Stargate, kill my Overlord with the Dragoon, cancel the Stargate, throw down a Citadel, and just mass Zealot. And I'm like, what? So it's just one of those things where scouting is so crucial, and that's why I am a big proponent to just completely allowing that Overlord in the main to just sacrifice. Keep in mind, that Overlord is going to die, so you better make an extra one.
Make 2. One
exactly.
to replace one for the next.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the players in general. I have to say that I couldn't really find very many faults with F10's play. Like I give him a 4.5 stars with no problem because, well, first of all, the situation that he created and then took advantage of, it was like very much like an A to B process. Like he didn't make it complicated for himself. He didn't do anything that would like, I don't know, somehow impede his progress. He just created a situation, took advantage of it. The only thing that I could possibly say that he could have done slightly better. I really do think that there was a timing where he could have added that +1 in there, and it would have made his Zealot army that much more scary. And the other thing is, he even though he was doing everything I said that he should be doing, I said, oh, you should expand now, oh, you should start your storm now, oh, your observatory should be coming soon. I felt like all of those things, like I was saying them because they were already a little bit late, but those are all very minor qualms. I think that he played extremely solid in that game. And for N Baker, I feel like you mentioned it during the game, like the panic with the drone pulling and the obvious lack of static defense. I feel like those were two kind of conceptual flaws that arose because of the anxiety of the situation that he was in. Probably wasn't very used to fighting against this build. I'm gonna give him 2.5 stars for that performance. All right. Any other thoughts that you want to add about this game that we just saw?
With F10, I feel like his build was kind of like I have an idea, but I don't know how to go about it. Because with that quick natural gas, that was a little bit unnecessary. It hindered his gateway explosion. Well, I mean, I guess like the 2 additional gateways that he built.
True.
And then, other than that, I mean, he chose an idea of a build, executed to the best of his ability, and then made it work. So that was good on him. And Baker, I mean, it's a Zerg issue. All Zergs go through it. It's a matter of just, scouting out and reacting accordingly. Unfortunately, he made a lot of Zerglings, but he needed the static. I mean, like 1 sunken per base buys you, like 15, 20 seconds to just get your Zerglings to that base before the Zealots just go ham on the drone line, you know?
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah.
definitely extremely hard for Zergs because I've been playing a lot of random in the past couple of years, right? So I've really felt this love that Zergs have for their drones. You know what I mean? Having a lot of them at the wrong time could make you die. Having a lot of them at the right time makes you infinitely rich. You know, like using one
Yeah.
drone for one sunken right now. Like 2 minutes later, when that sunken has been sitting there and the Protoss never even went close to it, you start thinking to yourself like, "Damn it, that was a waste," you know. So it's a balance that I feel like is really hard to strike. So I completely sympathize with N Baker's situation, trying to go
Of
for units
course.
over static because in theory units are what's better, but in this situation you definitely needed the static.
Well, the game transitions, in my opinion, from like you'll have 12 lings. Let's just say you have 12 lings,
Hmm.
and you're waiting for that 3 to 4 ling or zealot aggression to come out. So if it comes to a point where, all right, now my 5th hatchery's done, uh, and he's going to have more than that 4 zealot number, is when I split up 6 lings per base and throw
Hmm.
down a sunken, and then the longer it waits, I'll slowly add on more sunkens. Because if he hasn't shown his tech yet, which should be Corsair, that means he's going to have a strong ground army, and with the strong ground army is like I want the static for that. So I don't know. There's every player has their own reactions to everything, but I don't know. It was unfortunate. The kind of unorthodox strategy worked out for QQ,
Hmm.
and let's just see if N Baker is able to take that into consideration in the next game and just work with it.
Yeah, I hope I didn't host the same replay again because in theory these players were supposed to pick a different map for game two, no matter who lost. But we'll see what happens. I mean, we're not that strict on the rules. We're just trying to make people more familiar with all the maps that are available
Yeah.
to players. But let's see what happens here. Yeah, this is definitely a different game.
Yep.
We got N Baker, the brown Zerg at the top left.
And hailing from Core Hall, representing his blue color, we've got F10 EQQ.
Word. I should just have you record every introduction and every name in CPL and use your voice pack for for every introduction. Like instead of having us say it, I'll just have you introduce every player in every color.
I would be honored to do that, and I would do that. And it actually, if I had the opportunity to practice and do things like that, like I would make them just
Fun.
so absurdly amazing. Yeah, like you'd be like, I'm so happy I did this.
Oh man. Well,
Let me know. Give me like a week in advance of who's going to be playing for the finals, and
uh-huh.
I promise you, I will have that pack for you.
Okay, I'll do my best. It's kind of tough organizing things.
Of course.
So and especially not a week. There's less than a week between lineup submission and the final games, so we'll see what happens. I want to note something right off the jump. So this time he does scout vertically, and actually N Baker scout. I mean F10 scouts horizontally, expecting the Overlord to go the wrong direction. I like this adaptation from F10. He's like, okay, this Zerg does not scout like he's supposed to scout. I'm gonna scout the opposite way of the way I'm supposed to scout, and it worked
Yeah.
out. He found him. I mean, but at the same time, one thing I want to note about the way that N Baker played, when you're spawning as Zerg with the minerals to the left of your hatchery, what you can do is you can select the larva with an Overlord, and you press stop, and then that makes the larva kind of migrate around the hatchery towards the minerals. It helps you with the early mining efficiency, like to a measurable degree. Especially, it's easy to do for the first 12 drones. Like, what else are you doing during that time period anyway? But,
Ooh.
but, oh, okay. We're seeing two gate
Yeah.
versus pool first. This is bad for N Baker, I think, isn't it?
He 12 pulled.
Yeah.
Actually, no, he 11 pulled because he's seen the probe come out real quick.
Hmm.
So this is not too good because with the double gate, the Zealots are going to be at his base. He needs larva and Zerglings, and he's not going to have the larva due to the late natural and
Yeah.
the Zerglings. Okay, he is popping 6, so he did get the scout information. He knows that what he's going against, but this is going to be a tough situation. This is going to be the essence of micro.
Yeah, pretty much. I was gonna say that I actually prefer 12 hatch over 12 pool to defending simply because you get that that was called that creep in the natural earlier. So if you do mess up really bad, you can throw down a colony.
Yeah.
It also gives you a little bit more terrain to fight with. You know what I mean? Like if you throw down a colony or something like that, like you have more places where the zealots can choke themselves up and you can surround them. But the other thing to know is that I think that this hatchery is off center. To be honest with you, I think it should be one more unit to the left as well. So a lot of things going not N Baker's way exactly. But actually here, I think he had an opportunity to run in between the two gateways. I think if he did that and he just harassed the mineral line, he could have bought himself enough time to get that hatchery and that larva up.
Huh. I'm not entirely sure what his thinking is right now. It's just he's not losing Zerglings, so that's important. F10 QQ is going to be sending out all the zealots, and Baker is completely aware of the situation. It seems like there's going to be 3 drones pulled, so let's see how many Sunkens go down. 1?
Yeah.
And 2. 2 should be sufficient, and they're spread out, so okay.
No more than that, for surely. He's
Yeah.
going to go for a hatchery here. I like this a lot because it's going to help the Sim City a lot against these zealots. But you know what I really would have... I think... Correct me if I'm wrong on this. I feel like it would have been great if he just left like 2 or 3 lings next to the gateways, saw the zealots move out, and then run those lings directly into the main base of F10.
Oh, yeah.
It would force him to split the zealot count. And the zealot count, it's only... like in low numbers, Zerglings are way better than zealots. And then as the zealot count keeps rising and rising, that's when the zealots become stronger and stronger because they're harder to surround, harder to get a good surface area on. And by forcing him to split off some of his zealots and defend his main base, he would have put a big APM tax on F10. But the problem is that N Baker, I think, is the one that gets taxed heavier by APM. So
Yep.
that is the underlying issue here. But he did manage to hold this off quite well. I mean, denied the 2-gate aggression relatively easily, and F10 has actually made a forge and a cannon before throwing down the Nexus. So normally, I think Protoss go for right for the Nexus, and I like this ramp block from N Baker. This is gonna hurt the zealots a lot. And if all of these
it goes
zealots
in favor for the Protoss, though.
this goes in favor for the Protoss.
Yeah, because the Zerglings don't get the surround they need.
Oh yeah, but he lost all of his zealots, and there's now only one that's severely injured. And one that's, you know, kind of injured. I mean, I don't think he would have done better in that situation. Or do you think he would have been better if he caught him before he went up the ramp?
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. And we see 2 more zealots. They're going to chill outside the Sunkens. They know, I think, that they shouldn't probably run by this, but actually they might. These Zerglings, if they hold the ramp, they actually... Well, okay, I make the same mistake, I guess, but two Zerglings can hardly surround 2 zealots. And, yeah, these zealots are going to be so annoying behind this mineral line here, even though they can't poke out.
Oh my god.
Even though they can't poke through any holes to snipe any drones, they can, you know, like, they can pull back relatively quickly still anyway. And still with the low larva count, and this 3rd hatch being, you know, kind of late and off-center, I don't think N Baker's going to get a lot of mining done anytime soon.
I just want to find N Baker where he lives and just hug him.
I feel you.
Because as a Zerg player, this is just like so just demoralizing. It's just like
he's on 6 drones, dude. 6
Yeah,
drones. That's so painful. And meanwhile, obviously F10, you know, is on 15 probes. You know what I mean? His economy is booming. He's getting his Nexus up, and these zealots, you know, oh god, this is definitely painful. This one zealot has 6 kills already. 7.
The other day I played against the Protoss who had freaking 9 kills on one zealot because of a gateway expand, and I was livid.
I imagine, dude. And he's continuing to make Zerglings. He has no forward plan. I mean, actually, he did add some drones. He's up to 9 drones now, but I feel like there's almost no getting back from this at this point. I mean, he does have a decent larva count. If he just, like, pumps a lot of drones, like, I think that if he just doesn't put any drones on gas, he can get the Hydra Den and the lair, and maybe get to Lurker, and that would slow down F10 a little bit, but it's so hard to say. And
this game is definitely it's a tough one.
Yeah, and I do want to know that zealot did end up with 9 kills at the end of it. So so you guys are definitely in the same boat here. Yeah, so N Baker adding drones now, I definitely like this decision, and the Hydra Den, that's a good decision as well. I would like to see the layer now, because I feel like Lurker is really the only thing that will keep him alive at this point. Like, making Hydralisks isn't going to do much. Actually, I guess there's not even a Citadel up. F10 adding the Stargate first, which is standard, but
Yeah, F10 just playing a standard game after the aggression. Yeah, the aggression was strong, but all the tech timings are just going to be delayed for like an extra minute or two,
Hmm.
for the most part. But for the Zerg player, it's just like everything, like the whole flow of the game, just timings and everything are just off. So this is
Yeah.
basically the Zerg player just playing like freestyle right now.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, it's going to be two base against two base. It's going to be like the third hatchery is not in the natural, so he doesn't have a very good Sim City in the natural, so he's throwing down another colony. And it looks like he's just going to go for a Hydra all in. I think that's what I'm reading here, because he is not going for the lair. He's made the Hydra Den, and he's getting to the requisite amount of drones. Actually, I think he might be already a little bit above the necessary amount of drones for I think it's 21 drones, isn't it, to make three hatch Hydra?
Um, Yeah, I mean, right now, I think what he's doing is he's making a whole bunch of drones for the time being. He threw down an extra creep colony, and now he's going to this like pure Hydralisk production,
Hmm.
just hoping to God he can get some sort of engagement
Hmm.
victory. With the engagement victory, then he can find himself back in the game and take an expansion and deny the third.
Yeah, I mean, at this point,
But
double Stargate is going to be proving a problem for him, but Citadel is only one third of the way done, so that means that Storm is actually really, really far away. And
yep.
if he manages to kill enough Zealots and take down these front two gateways, he could actually might be able to put himself in an okay position. The wall, the wall behind the gateways, the two pylons there, definitely hurts the wall as well. So I wouldn't say it's bustable, especially not how far behind he is, but it's definitely a position from which he can do some damage with some range Hydralisks. And range is on the way. It's halfway done. It shouldn't finish before he gets there, but it's somewhere where you can start. Uh, Speaking of, what's your opinion about range versus speed? I feel like when you're going for this, when you're trying to bust the front, not completely bust, but like to do some damage to the Protoss, like range first is better. You don't even really need speed.
It matters. Usually, when I do like a fake, I'll go range first.
Hmm.
But with this being said, gateways are really like fat,
Yeah.
so he doesn't need range to knock him down.
Really? In this?
Yeah,
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that.
yeah. So he's going to be able to use the hydras to focus. See, cannons aren't shooting,
Yeah.
so he can get the kill off the gateways. But like in the situation where it's like I want to fake, I'll build four hydras to pressure one back at home, get range, knock down whatever I can, and then just macro behind it.
Yeah, that's what I feel like he should be doing in this case, but he's continuing to make Hydralisk, and I feel like once you've already forced this kind of reaction from Protoss, where F10 threw down, like what, a total of like 7 cannons, and what's called an extra pylon behind it, you've already hurt the Protoss way more than you'll ever hurt him by trying to bust at this point. Like you would need to double his investment, I think, at this point to make it bustable. So I think he really should be going for the drones in right now at this point, but I guess he's using the Hydralisks here to defend against the Corsair, which is a good move as well.
Well, I mean, yeah, like in theory on paper, it seems like the logical explanation, but surprisingly, like if those zealots pushed right now with the speed legs, which I think they're done, right?
No, they're just finishing up now, though.
Okay. Once they do finish, this army at the natural will just die.
That's
That
true.
that is a lot of zealots. Like,
That is true.
you need to still produce because you got to think back at home. You're going to be taking an expansion. If those zealots get map control, what do you have to answer for? So
Nothing.
he's going to continue to make some hydras and lings,
Oof.
and then once that he's got like a big enough amount to be able to just like kill everything, then he can start making drones because Zerg, we can't produce both. We need to
Yeah.
either make waves of drones or waves of hydra ling, etc. And right now, I think he's finally at a good, comfortable number of being like, all right, I got a good amount of hydras. Now I'm going to go into drone production. But yeah, it just took him a little bit to get to that spot.
Yeah, he's been getting supply blocked, and clearly the multitasking is not where it should be. I mean, he was. I saw him having like all 9 larvae and 1,200 minerals at certain points there. Uh, Excuse me.
Yeah.
But the zealots and the DTs are actually coming out now. They're gonna go around the third base. Kind of what we were talking about earlier, showing the mobility potential of this map. Excuse me, goddamn, this grapefruit juice making me what's called burp all the time. But yeah. So
Yeah.
this attack actually kind of scary, but I think he came just in time to deflect it. Very nicely done here
Ooh.
by N Baker. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Zel
but
the
this macro is aggravating me.
Yeah.
Throw down some macro hatches and get that natural gas going.
Yeah, I mean, he does need the third base, and I think it did just get scouted, or at least it's going to be assumed. And oh my God, I hope he
Oh, it's going
canceled
to
this.
be.
Cancel? The cancel. Cancel. Oh,
He
nice.
cancels
Good,
it.
good, good. But yeah, okay, so this is what I was going to say. Like, as soon as he saw that, that was an opportunity, I think, for him to kind of pincer this army, even if there is a DT in there.
Yep.
But now it's kind of too late. He didn't react
Yep.
in time. I recently won a ZVP just uh, using the opposite technique. Like, I sent one DT to his third base on Andromeda, which was, kind of like these middle bases. And it was kind of like what they call the retard magnet, where they send their whole army to stop one DT. And my army
Yep.
would not have been able to handle it, his army out in the open. But because he was scrunched up in that one base, all it took was like 4 storms, and then he's done. So I feel like that was a similar situation where if he reacted to the zealots fast enough, and he kind of parked himself on top of this high ground, he would have been able to have a favorable engage. But as it stands now, I mean, he's floating 1,800 minerals on 2 bases. It's not where you want to be as Zerg, I feel like.
Not at all. Yeah, the longer the game goes now, it's just going to go more and more to Protost's favor.
Yeah, I mean, denying that third base was big, and Baker doesn't seem to have any real late game plans at the moment. I mean, he did get the lair. He is getting the armor upgrade, which I've been told doesn't make sense in this scenario because you're going mostly Hydralisks. Let's see how this
Yep.
engage goes, though, because if there's some Storm snipes, I mean, if there's some Templar snipes, this could actually go decent for him, but it doesn't seem to be the case. He's just kind of spreading them relatively arbitrarily right now. One Storm. Oh, no. Ooh. Okay, no, those storms were actually just not that good. I mean, they did do the work necessary. That was a good storm. That's a really good storm. Oh, ouch. That's the worst. That's that pain. But in the end, that still wasn't like that trade. Like the Protoss army is still not that big after that. Like I expected Protoss
Yeah.
to win by a landslide. So even after flubbing a few of those storm dodges, Endbaker's not totally dead, but definitely not in the best position possible. And oh, this Archon, nice.
The macro. It's just macro. He needs to spam those hotkeys.
4SH, 5SH, 6SH, 7SH. That's all I do as Zerg. I heard that players like Jadong, they don't really hotkey their army, I think. They hotkey only their hatcheries, right? So that's kind of the way I play. I just leave clumps of units in places where I can drag drop 12 and send. Drag drop 12 and send. Then I hotkey the hatcheries for at least up until the mid game where I can just do 0SH, 9SH, 8SH, 7SH over and over and over again.
Yeah, my hatcheries are 5 through 0.
Mm-hmm.
And I just constantly spam it. Hopefully they fix, because did you hear about the whole issue with the 1.18 that they didn't realize until recently?
What?
The fact that they didn't realize players can go over 300 APM because none of the people at at Blizzard
Oh yeah, yeah.
played
I heard
fast
about
enough.
that. Yeah.
So they're going to fix the fact that players can play fast to make it so things register.
Yeah.
And that's going to be my saving grace because I swear to God, I can't even get over how many times I spam SZ and just nothing produces Zerglings.
And SZ is like, they're right next to each other, it's like it's
a quick response.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I promise you, I hit that button,
Yeah.
but it doesn't go.
That's the same thing that happened to me when I was on MCA and I had to reinstall and I didn't turn on the keyboard buffer thing, and suddenly half my gateways are producing but the other half are not. Okay, that was a terrible storm of all terrible storms. It stormed his own Templar, and I really like this idea from Baker. I mean, he set up the Hydralisks for the flank, but he just doesn't have enough army at this point. And Dragoons getting added into the mix. I really like the fact that he added Dragoons and the Observers into the mix, because this is the time when you should be expecting Lurkers after this kind of opening, where they should have been out for a while now, actually. But the Dragoons are really going to help pummel down this front right now.
Yeah. This is pretty much game.
Yeah, 2 more bad storms. I mean, storming your own Zealous not really recommended. And yeah.
And GG goes down.
That's GG. Yeah, I mean, once again, I feel like F10 created a good situation for himself, and Baker kind of unfortunate on the build order exchange going 12 pool against 2 Gateway. And the unorthodox opening scouting situation definitely changed the way the game was playing out, I think. So I'm sorry, I read something funny in the chat. So, when we were talking about how we should record you introducing the players, the guy said, "So the games are live, but the commentary is pre-recorded, right?"
Yeah, we just hope to God that it adds up.
All right, well, before that, let's get back into the game. All right, so for F10, I mean, once again, you can't really find fault in a kind of a dominating victory of that nature. I really liked his
No,
micro. Uh, his follow up with the Sayers, I think like it was okay, but you definitely I don't think you needed two Stargate Sayers. I feel like you could have just gone for an earlier Citadel and forced the issue in one because when the Zerg has six drones on two bases and you're at 15 probes with two gateways and you're getting your infrastructure up, are you really that concerned if they have enough overlords or not? Like I don't think so. Like I feel like the Sayer choice was not the best choice. It definitely didn't hurt, but at that point I think that there was very little that he could have done to get hurt. And I mean, he still managed to get his front two gateways busted anyway, so can't really reward that too highly.
I mean, when in doubt, make Corsairs. From my understanding of PVZ.
Yeah, but not two Stargate, and
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I guess that's just like his staple. I don't
Hmm.
know. Didn't he do it like every both games?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, maybe it's just that's what he's comfortable with. Like maybe he's just got this just burning hatred towards Mutalisk.
that's true. I definitely have that because they've made me lose games out of nowhere. Like the Zerg is making Hydralisk, 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 and then they make one batch of Mutalisks, and suddenly you're fucked, and you're like, fuck. I didn't make any
Yeah.
Sayers, I didn't make any cannons. They sniped all my Templar, so. But then again, he had Zealots inside the base of N Baker. He knew that there was no layer. So like the Sayers weren't even for scouting purposes. I felt like they were for making N Baker's life miserable purposes, which they did succeed in doing somewhat. But at that point, I feel like he could have just gone for the win, which would entail getting the Templar tech earlier, getting more gateways instead of two Stargates, which he ended up doing anyway. But I feel like that's what put him in the position to getting what's called to getting his front sniped.
Yeah.
And as far as N Baker goes, I mean, like I said before, he got put in a shitty situation very early on. I like the fact that he kind of almost not didn't I wouldn't say came back, but he survived long enough. But he really, really, really needs to work on his macro, like really, really, really bad. That was the really key moment there for me.
Yeah. I mean, just the initial aggression. He had the right idea. I feel like when the Zealots were pushing up the ramp, like trying to drone drill some of the drones to get in the way to just clog it up. Because once the Zealots got into the main, that's the point where it went downhill.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he held
But
for quite some time, but just getting
yeah,
those three zealots in there was more than, or it was two, and then he had two more. But still, you're right. And I actually really like that you brought up that up because that's something that I didn't know. I would have done the same thing. I would have just kept sending Zerglings at the ramp to try to block it. I would send my drones there to block it. And like, I guess it's one of those scenarios where like, if you do manage to kill all the zealots using the Sunkens and the Zerglings and the drones, then good. But if you don't, then you're kind of fucked, which is what we learned here today. So,
yeah.
right, good point on that. Um, yeah, so that wraps it up for us today. I'm gonna